A lot of people didn't have TVs back then, but we happened to be fortunate enough to have one, you know, and of course it's black and white, but you sit there and watched it, you know, and it's kind of intriguing. Some of it was kind of gory, really.
Between our house and the yellow house, there was only a barbed wire fence. So my wife walked out to the back of our yard and was watching the filming through the fence. When the director of the show came over and told her that she would have to go in the house, that she didn't belong in the productions.
In front of the Mangrum house, we were standing across the street with all the other people around, gawking, and when the actress lit the doll on fire. That's what I remember. I don't remember any of the car or any other things that going on in the city at the time.
It was big doings. The town was turned on its ear. We talked of nothing else, and it was mostly downtown, which is now, I understand, Old Town, and those of us who lived close by were here every chance we got, down on Main Street or up on Main Street, close by, and watching everything we could see.
My memory, of course, is Tuesday Wells, and so she did her dressing room was in the back in the trailer behind our daddy's gas station, and so we all stood on the corner and watched the door waiting for her to come out, because we knew she was a star, and she was the only star that had a dressing room. And I remember the Corvette. To us, that was a big deal because we loved cars. Our daddy loved cars. I saw in the show that you just showed that our grandmother's 57 Chevy was parked there at the gas station. We just probably heard about it the night before and went down there and watched it going on, you know, during the day. I think Mother was pretty excited. I remember being all dressed up. Really? And, you know, back in the day, people dressed up for those kinds of things. So it was pretty exciting.
We lived here where we're located right now. My daddy got me up, said, let's go down and take a look, because I loved watching Route 66, and I was a young girl, and at that time I'd say we had crushes on Buzz and Todd, so he took me down there to watch the filming. And at that particular time, they were having breakfast, which was on the parking lot of KB Moseley's service station. So they had it all roped off so that people couldn't get to the actors. And we just stood around and watched them eat. So it was pretty exciting. My dad was just in one of the first scenes when Tuesday Well got off the bus and she had on a mask. And Dad walked across the street, probably from KB's service station, and walked in front of the bus pointing. He pretty much faced the camera, but he had this jacket on at the time, which I still have.
I lived about less than a quarter mile straight south from where the yellow house on Main Street was. I got home from work one day and I knew they were doing something down there. I took my 5-year-old son and we went down there to see what was happening. And we lined, apparently what was going to take place was going to take place in the middle of Main Street. And we got on the north side, and we were there at least an hour before they were going to do something, and got right up in the very front row. By the time they were ready to start, this cocky-looking young guy comes strolling down in front of everybody and stops right in front of my son and I. And I kind of think I tapped him on the shoulder and said, "You're going to need to move. We've been here for an hour. You're not going to stand in front of this boy." And I think we exchanged some heated words maybe. Many years later, I was in a conversation with David Denison, who I'd known since he was about 9 years old, was later mayor of Lewisville. We got to talking about that episode. He said, "Thing I remember about that episode was you and Burt Reynolds nearly getting into a fist fight."
It's a publicity stunt for a new picture coming into town called The Teenage Ghoul from Fujiyama. Hope you see it, fellas. It's a great little show. Oh.
Burt Reynolds, we didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he has been such a big guy that we've watched all these years. I didn't even remember he was on the show until this little thing began that we talked about coming here today.
Really?
I didn't.
I used to think that Martin Milner was the neatest of the two, But he showed himself when he was here in town. He was not very nice. He wasn't very personable. He was kind of grouchy. So I think a lot of us changed our minds about him and decided to go with George Maharis.
It was really kind of thrilling for us youngsters around you. We'd run around trying to get in where we could get a photo taken of it.
Of course, we were like everybody else that lived here then. Anytime when the show actually came on, we paid particular attention to look to see if we could see which buildings were in the show and what part of the town was used.
The looks of the old cars and Main Street the way it was then. You saw where the police car was sitting on Main Street and just how narrow the street was, how close the house across the street was.
Later, when we're watching the show, I really enjoyed seeing the old buildings that are still there. Some of them are still there today. I noticed the Huffines house across the street over here. That was there, and that was listed as a hotel, I believe. And then some of the buildings on Mill Street, where the bus station was.
It was pretty weird. It was pretty weird today too. It was fun. We would go, that's Crawford's grocery store, and that was the actual Lewisville Leader office that they went to, the newspaper office, and the actual printing presses. My mother was sitting at a desk when she walked through the door with her mask on, and Mother turned and looked at her, and my dad was up by the printing press, standing very still. He didn't work at the Leader, but he was there hanging out.
Who'd have thought you lived in a little one-horse town and all these people come visit you, you know.